So what we're going to be doing today is, I'm sure you guys have seen my team building videos on YouTube. I take a team, show you, I've already built the team before the video starts, and I briefly talk about why I'm using each mon for each role. I go over movesets, and then I show a couple games showing how to use the team. We're doing something similar to that, but a lot more in depth, because what I don't show in those videos is how I come up with the teams that I make. I don't show the thought process. I don't talk about, like, I briefly talk about, like, oh yeah, you use Aerodactyl here because, you need a Stealth Rocks, and, it's like a flying type so you can avoid earthquake damage. That's an obvious reason. But I want to make a really, really good attempt to show you guys why I use every single Pokemon that I use in every single team. So what we're doing today, people that are new subs, resubs, sub gifters, or donators of over 5 bits, or just donations, I guess, 500 bits, people that do all of those things, or any of those things, get to pick a Pokemon. And I will build you the best team ever made. I'll build you the best team you've ever seen in your life for that Pokemon. I'll make a team so good you'll never lose another game, because I'm going to show you guys how to use the team. I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to say we're going to be using, like, first Pokemon we're going to look at is Arcanine. So I'm going to talk about all the things that Arcanine can do. Then I'm going to talk about all the situations you need to set up for Arcanine to succeed, and then I'm going to talk about all the Pokemon that can go with Arcanine. I'm going to build the 6 Pokemon around Arcanine, and we're going to have a really good team. So if you guys have ideas for Pokemon you want to use in your own games, but you say, like, oh, I suck at team building, this is it. You can pretty much just pay me, and you get the team. Like, you got to get it in the game. But I'm going to tell you every single move. You can always go back and watch the VOD. Every single move, every single nature, and I'm gonna give you guys a slight flow chart for what you want to be doing to, execute your team's strategy. Like good matchups, bad matchups, bunch of really cool stuff. This will be awesome. Yes, this is gonna be something that's pretty cool, and it's something that I don't normally stream. This is like the busy work that I do off stream and like notebooks and stuff like that. And if you guys like this type of thing, let me know. If you guys if you think like, oh, this is stupid, I only want to watch battles, or I only want to watch this, or I want to watch that. Like, let me know. I'm trying to make content more tailored for you guys. I'm trying to help y'all out. I'm trying to help y'all get better at the game. And I think, like, this is a step in the right direction, because a lot of the times people ask me, like, is my team good? And I didn't mean to nerd rage voice that one, but they say, like, is my team good? Right? And, alright, so
this is how you'll
we're
know.
talking about Arcanine. Arcanine is a pure fire type, which means it's actually pretty good right now in Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee. And the reason why it's pretty good, if you think about fire types, I've actually talked about this before, fire types aren't very good in the meta in general, because what are you going to be hitting with fire attacks? Well, you're going to be hitting grass Pokemon, right? Mostly you're going to be hitting grass. Sure, you're going to be able to hit steel, but we're talking about that in a sec. The main Pokemon you're going to be hitting with a fire type for super effective damage is grass types. And what else is grass weak against? Well, grass is weak against ice. And also, if you think about every grass Pokemon in the game, other than, like, Executor and Parasect, they're also weak against Psychic, and Psychic is the most common special attacking type. So instead of having a fire type Pokemon on your team who has a weakness to rocks, and normally fire is like a really offensive type, most people decide to just cut the fire type for a Psychic type or a second Psychic type, or they throw Ice Beam or Ice Punch on one of their Pokemon and call it a day. So Arcanine already is starting off a little bit behind. Yeah, the only good thing about a fire type is versus like using like an ice attack or a psychic attack, is you actually get primo super effective damage on a steel type. And what are some common steel types? We got Alolan and Dugtrio, we got Magneton, and more exclusive than anything else, we have Melmetal. So having an Arcanine, a dedicated pure fire type in your team, means that you're actually going to be able to, like, super punish Melmetal. You saw in a recent stream I was actually using Ninetales, like regular base form Ninetales, and I got a few situations where I pinned their Melmetal as their last Pokemon, and I just tore it apart. So let's talk about we already talked about some of the offensive, good things about fire types. Obviously, you don't want to fight against, like, dragons. You don't want to fight against rock types. Those are actually pretty bad. But let's talk about some defensive advantages of fire type. And you can switch in on grass attacks pretty well. You can switch in on other fire attacks, LOL. There's obviously a bunch of other types of attacks you can switch in on, but, it's mostly being able to switch in on, like, a Venusaur and just exude, like, a ton of dominance in that situation. That's going to be one of the main playstyles you actually want to execute with Arcanine. So we're going to talk about Arcanine as a Pokemon right now. Arcanine is a really cool Pokemon because it just has amazing base stats. We're gonna look at my Arcanine, for example. It's a bold one, but this Pokemon can do almost anything. It's like the Swiss Army knife of Pokemon. That's why I think it's like perfect for this first one that we're gonna be doing here. But yeah, Arcanine, right? So we're just gonna use these stats as like an idea. We're just gonna be looking. This is like a level 100 Arcanine. I'm bold. It has perfect IVs. So we're gonna look at its base stats, kind of like right here. We're gonna talk about more about its base stats in just a moment. Diamond 1 than 5. First bits of the week. We got 5 bits in my bucket. Thank you, my guy. So yeah, Arcanine, if you can look, it has really good base HP. It has decent base attack, decent base special attack, decent everything. It's like a pretty, what kind of shape is that? It's not a circle, it's not a hexagon, it's not an octagon. It's like a sextagon. It's a 6, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I don't know, man. Anyways, but Arcanine stats are really well-rounded, but they're also a lot higher than most other Pokemon. If you compare Arcanine to something like Ninetales, Arcanine stats are so much more well-suited to do almost anything. This Pokemon can be a physical attacker. It can be a special attacker. It can be a physical wall. It can be a special wall. It can be a sweeper. It can be a wall breaker. This Pokemon can fill every single role in the game. Arcanine. We're looking at the official Let's Go Eevee strategy guide. One thing about Arcanine is that it's one of those Pokemon that evolves from a Firestone, and it actually learns all of its moves that are any good in the Growlithe stage. So if you want to use an Arcanine, you actually have to keep it as a Growlithe until like level 38 to get Flare Blitz. I don't actually know if you can like heart scale Flare Blitz as an Arcanine, but you used to not be able to. So yeah, like Growlithe gets Flare Blitz, Growlithe gets Flare of Outrage, Crunch, Heat Wave, Agility, Flamethrower, Takedown, Helping Hand. It's even good in doubles. Leer, Ember, Roar, and Bite. It's very, very good Pokemon. You say, doesn't it fail? No, Teleport's really, really good in Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee because it acts similarly to U-Turn, but it has a negative priority. So you're able to buffer the damage and then switch. So it does something different in Let's Go. So yeah, Arcanine, like I said, it can do a lot of stuff. I think we're going to be opting to use a more offensive Arcanine in this team because I just feel that that's the general direction we're going to put it. We're not going to use the bulky one, basically just because all the Arcanine sets I've ever shown are really bulky, and I want to experiment a little bit more and showcase some more team building muscle. Let's talk about other really good moves it can get. We have to first of all pick if we want to use physical or special Arcanine, and we're going to be picking that actually after we round out the team, because that's one good thing about Pokemon. I don't know if any of you guys watch like Crocono Basket, but do you guys remember the big center guy? I don't remember his name, but the guy with brown hair. His special ability was he could wait until like the last second and then decide if he was going to pass or throw. That's one thing, that's a luxury that Arcanine has. When you're building your team and you know you want to use something like an Arcanine, you don't have to go physical, special, sweeper, or wall until the very end of the team building process. So we're going to talk about its moves and stuff like that. So right now, we have a base fire type, which means we have weaknesses to ground, we have weaknesses to rock, we have weaknesses to water. But some things that we do resist are like grass. We resist fairy, which is actually pretty nice. And I think we resist like bug, and ice. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I don't even know why I decided to look at that. I know all those things. But yeah, so what are we going to do? What Pokemon is the #1 Pokemon that I think complements Arcanine? Because Arcanine has a base 95 speed, so it's not like the fastest Pokemon in the world, but it's also no slouch in terms of speed. So do we technically need speed control this early on in the team? Probably not. And do we want to start stacking a ton of rocks weaknesses? Probably not. Same thing with ground. So we want something that does not take like ice, rock, or ground weaknesses to be our second pivot, like our second anchor Pokemon, right? Let's see. This is probably the part of the stream that's gonna take the longest. What do I want to use? Because like obviously I could just be like, oh, you gotta use Aerodactyl and Gyarados in every team. I could do that. I could totally do that. But obviously that's not what we're gonna do. And there's nothing wrong with having a little bit extra rocks weakness for certain situations. But I don't want to go full in on rocks weaknesses this early. I think a really good partner, though, for Arcanine is probably a Starmie. So we're going to actually add Starmie to the team. Starmie is really good, though, so we're going to talk about Starmie. So if we add Starmie to the team, what does that actually get us so far? So like I said, Arcanine is weak against ground, it's weak against rock. But what type of Pokemon does Starmie have super effective stab moves against? You know, like the ground and the rock types. So like if we think that we're gonna be fighting a bunch of, I think Starmie would be a good idea. Yo, it just makes sense. It just makes sense. But we're gonna talk about it. So like Starmie has those Scalds to beat the ground and rock types, right? I'm not gonna lie, I set that up, so I'm glad you picked up on it. I set up the Starmie there, and obviously Ice type doesn't really come into play here. But let's talk about Starmie's weaknesses. Starmie's weak against Bug. Starmie's weak against Grass. Arcanine covers for Starmie. 100%. So good. I mean, there's no dark type coverage there, but there could be. You know, we could put Play Rough on Arcanine to fight against all the dark types. We're not doing that. But yeah, so obviously Starmie complements Arcanine really well. Also, Starmie's like a tier 1 Pokemon. And remember, we're trying to build the best team. We're trying to build the best team that we possibly can for these Pokemon. So having a Psychic type's really, really good. Having a Water type's really, really good. And again, now that we have Starmie to cover up for some of Arcanine's weaknesses, we can actually get a little bit more experimental. We have a Sweeper, and we have a Pokemon they don't really know what we're doing with yet. So let's see, what Pokemon do we want to add next? We don't technically have a lead. Starmie is technically a lead, but we don't always want to lead Starmie unless we want to tweak our moveset for it. And we're retweaking the movesets for all these Pokemon. What about Zapdos? Covers water weakness and dodges the ground weaknesses. So we're going to talk about that. Zapdos is a very good Pokemon. If we were to add, let's hypothetically put Zapdos here. If we were to put Zapdos in here, you know, it gets around the ground weaknesses. It's doubling up on rocks weaknesses, and you know, Zapdos is like really, really good at going for like Thunderbolts against other like water Pokemon that Arcanine could be fighting. Like Zapdos really makes it so you cover up for your weaknesses to Pokemon like Gyarados. But I don't think Zapdos is like an amazing idea. I think there's actually a better way to do it than what most of you guys are thinking. So we're not going to be using Zapdos because it shares that rock weakness. There's nothing wrong with sharing some rock weakness. But remember, it's the Stealth Rock's weakness is the problem. We want to be able to switch as much as we can. So you guys aren't, none of you guys called it. Everyone's like, Nidoking, Rhydon. Everyone wants an electric nullification. You're not looking at it the right way. You got to add Venusaur in this situation. Let's talk about what Venusaur brings to the table, right? So Venusaur brings to the table, it has a couple weaknesses. It has weaknesses to Psychic. Remember, Starmie can resist that. It has weaknesses to Fire. Arcanine and Starmie resist that. It has weaknesses to Ice. Arcanine and Starmie resist that. Oh my gosh, it's a match made in heaven. Let's talk about what Venusaur does. Venusaur is really, really good at, again, punishing the things that Arcanine is weak against. So they really cover up for each other very well. You see, I don't know if you guys play a lot of VGC, but this is a very popular core in 2017, was a core called AFK core. It was an Arcanine, Tapu Fini, which is a water type, and Kartana, grass type. So you got grass, fire, water. It's very, very, very good. Oh man, some people are already ahead of themselves. Some people already know kind of what we're going to be going for. So we got fire, water, grass, geo combo. It's very, very good. They calm each other very well. Also, some of the things that Arcanine has problems with are like some series walls. Like Arcanine doesn't really want to fight against like Zapdoses and stuff like that either. Like Zapdos would out-trade an Arcanine most of the time. Zapdos would have to be having Drill Peck to be able to touch a Venusaur, and you can scout for that, and we're actually going to be able to scout for that with the remaining members of its team. So one thing that we've actually seen is, like, we have Starmie. Starmie can potentially get Thunder Wave. Venusaur can get Sleep Powders. Arcanine, remember, can always be packing those Will-O-Wisps and Screens. So we don't really know if we need Speed Control yet, but with the next two Pokemon, we have to decide if we want to heavily commit towards some Speed Control or play, like, a definitely bulkier game. Because, like, right now, we have a pretty decent matchup versus Melmetal right now on paper, but our Mewtwo matchup's getting a little bit dicey. So what we're going to have to do is supplement our team just a little bit more to be able to deal with Mewtwo's, because even though, you know, in this stream we don't really use Mewtwo because it's an Uber, we have to respect the Mewtwo. So again, we also haven't chosen a Mega yet, so we might have to commit to something that heavily punishes a Mewtwo, and it's definitely possible we can do that. So let's talk about what else we really want. We're just going to hover on Eevee here. We're not using it just yet. So Arcanine. So let's see. We have coverage for pretty much everything. And again, we have potentially two special attackers right now. So it's looking kind of like Arcanine's going to be physical, but we still haven't exactly decided yet. Also, another cool play that we can go for is Leech Seeds with Venusaur. And you could Leech Seed them, hard switch into Arcanine, give Arcanine a little bit of sustain, which is something that's really, really valuable, especially in the late game. We still don't technically have a lead Pokemon. We also do not have a Stealth Rocks user yet. So those are going to be things that we can start adding. If we want to start thinking about Stealth Rocks users that might be able to, you know, make up, well, Stealth Rocks users that don't share common weaknesses with what we already have. Like, we don't want to just throw like a Rhydon or like a Nidoking in here, because remember, those Pokemon share the same ground weaknesses that Arcanine does. So we have to pick a Stealth Rocks user that doesn't really have a Rocks weakness or like a ground weakness. And so that takes Aerodactyl off the table right away. You could technically use an Aerodactyl if you wanted to, but again, you're risking it for the biscuit a little bit too much. I think a really good Rocks user to test in this situation that would actually provide a lot of support for this team is, where is it? I have one. It's here somewhere. There it is. We're gonna hover on Clefable. The reason why we're picking Clefable here is, remember, let's talk about, you know, we got weaknesses to Psychic on Venusaur. Clefable obviously doesn't resist Psychic, but Clefable's really, really bulky. Like, Mega Mewtwo Psychic, you're gonna be able to eat that and just Thunder Wave right in his face. And then once you, yeah, you guys see Clefable, see, I already locked it in. There's the delay, but you're definitely there. Yeah, we're going to hover Clefable right here. We're going to have this in here right now, and then what we're going to look at is we cannot have any more special attackers. Otherwise, we're not going to be able to beat things like Chansey, like Snorlaxes. And again, we could have potentially went with some other things, but Clefable is actually a really good Pokemon in this team because it provides a lot of support. We're going to talk about some moves that Clefable gets right now, because I'm sure a lot of you guys are like, what? Clefable gets that? I didn't even know that Clefable got that. And I'm like, I know, Clefable's so good. Why don't people use it? The reason I don't use it is because I don't have a very good one. So Clefable's another one of those Pokemon that, you know, gets all of its evolution, all of its moves from Clefairy. So, like, you have to keep it in the Clefairy form as long as possible. But let's talk about some of its moves. It gets Moonblast, Stabbed, 95 base special attack, Fairy type. Very useful, especially against like fighting types, against dark types. Very, very popular type right now. Body Slam, Encore, Metronome, Amnesia, Double Slap, Minimize, which we don't use. Sing, Defense Curl, Pound. It also earns a ton of different really, really useful TM moves like Stealth Rocks. It gets Calm Mind, Thunderbolt, holy moly, host coming in from Asperia. It gets Thunder, Psychic, Shadow Ball, Fire Blast, Blizzard, Ice Beam, Thunder Wave. It gets so many really, really good. It like maxes out the full TM list. It also gets another teleport. So like if we wanted to run like teleport on Arcanine and teleport on Clefable, we could start like potentially bringing in like other setup mons that could potentially a bunch of other stuff. Off topic, I'd really like to see a Moonstone based team. I mean, that'd be really hard because like the whole team's that's hard. Minimize is legit. Minimize is illegal. Illegal. All right, how's it going with my diet? You okay? Yo, I'm absolutely flawless. So right here, let's see. We need physical attackers, and I know what I'm going to use in the last slot, so I'm saving it. Now, we do not have a Mega, but I already know what Mega I'm going to use. So we need a physical attacker. There's not necessarily a bad thing with doubling up on water types in this situation, because again, we have an Arcanine, and there's not a bad idea to double cover your weaknesses, right? So if we have a weakness to water, it's not a bad idea to double up weakness to water, which we've already done that with Venusaur and Starmie. You got a weakness to Psychic, it's not a bad idea to double up your weakness to Psychic, just in case you switch it on one and they call you and they Shadow Ball you and they trick you and they gimp your one thing. It makes it so there's not a hole in your armor, and you could potentially come back from that situation. All right, so it'd be nice to have a Pokemon that has a resistance or nullification to Psychic. So we're just looking around. What do we want to use that Psychic isn't really good against? We need physical attackers. We could use one of these. And the reason we're using a Snorlax, right? The reason we're hovering Snorlax here instead of a Alolan Muck is because, again, we have that really big weakness to ground. So we're hovering this. We're not really using it just yet. And the reason why we're really against picking all of these Pokemon that have rocks weaknesses is because the last Pokemon's going to be Mega Beedrill. So Mega Beedrill, you guys are like, but it has weaknesses to rocks. Well, it's our only other Pokemon that's weak to rocks. And remember, like I said, our team has a slight weakness to Mega Mewtwo. Or any Mewtwo in general, Psychic types in general, like Mega Alakazam. Those Pokemon really do give us problems. So Beedrill is a really, really good Pokemon to put in this situation. And let's see, do I really like that Tauros or do I not? We're still thinking about Tauros. Fast Blizzard not going to be to Psychic, not Mega, those requirements, yeah. Alakazam, nah, it has to be physical. Tauros is the only thing that doesn't really fit here, but we have a bunch of Pokemon that can cover it for its weaknesses. I think we go Tauros or Snorlax, and I actually think Snorlax is actually a better pick. We're going to put Snorlax in there. Like I said, I want to pick the best team possible. This is a better pick. Bulk up Mew. We're not using Mew. Alright. So, I think this is the team. This is the team in its first iteration. So, let's talk about it. Remember, the team was originally built around Arcanine. That was the requirement. So, Arcanine, again, weakness to ground, weakness to rocks, weakness to water. Resisted. We got Resist Water. We got Pokemon that punishes ground, Pokemon that punishes rocks. Pokemon that punishes rocks, Pokemon that punishes ground. Pokemon that Thunder Wave's got a little bit of speed control, got a little bit more speed control, and we have Pokemon that can outspeed our sweeper that we use at the very end. Yeah, Snorlax isn't very fast, but Snorlax is really good at coming in and derailing momentum. It can Body Slam and make it so Pokemon like Arcanine, Starmie, and even Venusaur can actually get something done. The reason we're using Snorlax here is because let's talk about it. We got, you want to use a physical attack? No. You want to use a fighting attack? Resisted, 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 resisted. This is the perfect team to use Snorlax in. If I wasn't using Snorlax, I'd use Chansey, and I said I wanted a physical attacker, so that's why we're going to be using Snorlax here. So now that we got the base team down, we're going to probably try to start talking about movesets and natures at this point. So we're going to put Clefable over here. We're going to talk about the order that we put the team in at the very end, too. That's also very, very important. So let's see. You say this team is very thick. It is very thick. Reasons to use Facade over Body Slam. If you plan on switching in on like a Will-O-Wisp or something, you can go for Facade, but we're going to use Body Slam. So we'll talk about Clefable. Like I said, we were talking about Clefable a little bit earlier. And Clefable is a Pokemon. We're going to use a Bold Clefable. And I would say, if you were going to change it, I would change to a Calm Clefable. So the first change we're going to be making from my own Pokemon, which I cannot make, that you are going to have to make if you want to use this team, is I would recommend a Calm Clefable. Why would you recommend a Calm Clefable, you ask? Well, Calm Clefable, if we remember looking at the whole team, I said our problems are big things like Mega Alakazam, Mewtwo, special attackers. Jolteon also exudes like a little bit too much pressure on us. And so, sure, it'd be really nice to be bold, but we have a lot of things that can switch in on Earthquakes. We have a lot of things that can switch in on, fighting attacks in general. Clefable's not afraid of fighting attacks. It's a fairy type. It's not really that big of a deal for fighting attacks, but we want to be able to switch in on as many special attacks as we can. So I'd really recommend Calm. Remember, Calm's the nature that boosts your special D, lowers your attack. We're not going to use any physical attacks on Clefable, so Calm is the nature to go. That's I have your Nature Vid bookmark. I do a lot of shiny hunting, and I always see what you think before I commit to nature. That's definitely a way to do it. You can always leave a comment or just hit me up on Discord if you have any questions. So yeah, we're going to be going Calm Clefable. And now we're going to be talking, now Clefable's potentially one of our lead Pokemon. Clefable's actually going to be able to do a lot for us. The moveset I have right here is not going to be one that we're using. So we're actually going to go into the team, the TM section, and we're going to talk about the moveset that we're going to want to pick. Because remember, Clefable's going to be one of the Pokemon that can use Stealth Rocks in our team. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to put Stealth Rocks on it. Remember, looking at our team, none of these Pokemon can wear Stealth Rocks, but Clefable can, and it's also a really, really well-hidden Stealth Rocks. I would say, depending on who you're playing against, 30% of the people, no matter how good they are not going to see the Stealth Rocks coming one bit. They're not going to see it coming. They're like, Stealth Rocks can only be used by rocks and ground types. And this is a fairy type. It has no business using Stealth Rock. You're going to be able to get away with this more often than you think. Now, I don't recommend leading Clefable every game, but if you can, go for it. It's great leading this thing against like Aerodactyl. It can't really do that much against you. So yeah, you got, we're going to delete Rest for this. So we're going to have Stealth Rocks. We're going to have Moonblast. We're going to have Thunder Wave, which we already should have on it. And let me see the last move, because I get to pick the last move, right? That's very important. We're going to save that last move until we learn a little bit more about the team. How's that sound? We're going to save that last move for coverage. I think right now it's Amnesia, but it's not very important. So the next Pokemon we're going to be looking at, I think you put on Wigglytuff too. The reason why we like Clefable over Wigglytuff is because, give me one sec, is because Wigglytuff, give me one sec to make sure. Where is, yeah, Wigglytuff's a normal fairy, which means it takes damage from fighting attacks. I don't like that. I don't like people taking damage from fighting attacks when I don't think that they should. So, yeah, we're using it for the fighting resist. So this next Pokemon we're looking at is Starmie here. And so, this is the default Starmie moveset. Remember, I like going with Modest. I do think that Modest is the best nature for Starmie. You could totally go Timid, but it has to be pretty much one of those two natures. The reason why you want to go for Modest on Starmie in certain situations is, like, let's say they're using a Venusaur, right? They have a, or let's say you lead Starmie, which is what you're probably going to do most times with this team, and they would like Aerodactyl, and you want to go for like a Scald, like a Hydro Pump or something. If you were to Hydro Pump or Scald after they switch into a Venusaur, even with their plus Special D nature, a Hydro Pump or Scald plus Burn has to be with Scald plus Burn into a Psychic from that situation, from a Modest Starmie, will actually KO a Venusaur. So they think they could switch in on you because they're used to the calc from the Timid one, but the Modest one's actually going to give you a lot more versatility that you're not going to expect to have. And let's talk about other ones. You could go for a Thunderbolt on a Mega Slowbro, and if you were a timid one, for example, if you were to Thunderbolt it, he'd be able to Calm Mind and then like rest you out. He'd be able to go like Calm Mind, rest, and then your Thunderbolts aren't doing enough. But if you're timid, you do about 60%, and then you do about 50. Well, you do like 65, and then you do about 50, 45 as in the last one, versus like he'd be able to wall you out if you were timid. So in those situations, you get KOs where you wouldn't normally get them for being modest, and Starmie's one of those Pokemon where like let's say your opponent's using like a Gengar or something that could one-shot you that technically has a lower base speed. They're going to know that they have a lower base speed, and I guarantee you 90% of the time, unless their back's to the ball and it's their last Pokemon, they will not fight you. They will not try and fight you, I guarantee it. You have a 115 base speed as Starmie, and which means you are slower than things that are 110, popular 110 Pokemon, and around 110, 109 with Ninetales are like, Ninetales is 109, Gengar's 110, Alolan Raichu's 110, Tauros is 110, Dodrio's 110, all those Pokemon outspeed you if you're modest, but again, they're not going to be trying to fight you. I guarantee it, I promise. If you play Starmie with confidence. So I run modest Starmie. It has huge speed potential. I agree. It's very, very good. I think Thunder Wave is also very, very good on Starmie. I'm going to leave it there for now, but we're going to talk about a couple things that could be changed. I really do like the Scald. I like Psychic, like Thunderbolt. Another option is Ice Beam. You could potentially cut Thunderbolt for Ice Beam if you want. We might actually talk about taking off Thunder Wave for Hydro Pump later on in the team building process, because we're going to be using like a lot of sleep and burn mechanics, and that we don't really have room for things to be Thunder Waved as much, because we're already going to be having Speed Control and Clefable and a little bit on Snorlax, so we don't technically need to waste the Starmie move slot, and Hydro Pump gets you KOs on Aerodactyl, so instead of like Thunder Waving an Aerodactyl, so let's talk about this situation. Let's say they lead Aerodactyl and you lead Starmie. Well, if they decide to Rock Slide you and you go for a Thunder Wave, they're just gonna, you're gonna be able to hit them with a Scald, not KO, and you can't burn because they're already paralyzed. They're risking to get paralyzed, but they can just KO you again. Or let's say they use Stealth Rocks, you Thunder Wave them, they can just, you can hit them with a Scald, but then they hit you right back. It's a lot easier in certain situations to go for, they use Stealth Rocks, and you just one-shot them with the Hydro Pump. Sure, you gotta hit an 80 accuracy Hydro Pump, but you effectively have gone to that situation and not taken any damage. And that's so valuable. Having your Starmie at full HP, Starmie's one of those Pokemon that trades 1.5 for 1 for every single, or it trades 1 for 1.5 every single time, which, what I mean by trading 1 for 1.5, it's going to be able to KO their Aerodactyl, chip something else, and then go down. You're going to be able to take out 1, sometimes even 2 or 3 Pokemon with a well-made Starmie moveset, and, you can't really put a price on that. So, yeah, Starmie, really good Pokemon. We might put Hydro Pump on it. So right now we're making the skeletons of the team. We're making the skeletons of them. Things can be totally changed at this point in the team building process. The next Pokemon we're looking at is Venusaur. And right off the bat, you can see like our team overall is really, really bulky. We might actually want to switch it up and be a little more aggressive with the Venusaur set, but we're going to talk about why I picked Venusaur in just a moment. Obviously, like I said, Venusaur being a grass poison, its poison type isn't going to be doing that much for you. But let's talk about what poison could do. Do we need a poison attack to punish grass types? No, we don't. We have a Beedrill, we have a Starmie that has Psychic. Like I said, all grass types also share that all that weakness to Psychic, and we have an Arcanine, so we're going to be in a really, really good spot. So you don't really need a Sludge Bomb on this thing, but we might be able to put it on, who knows. So we're going to look at the summary here. My Venusaur is sassy, and that is a plus special D-boost nature, lower speed. We're actually going to want to do something completely different. What we're probably going to want to do here is go with a... I almost want to say we should go with a timid Venusaur, because Venusaur actually isn't very slow. It has an 80 base speed. And if you go timid, that means you're going to be able to outspeed a lot of things you wouldn't actually expect to outspeed. And let's see, what are some really good movesets? We might even go like Hasty or something. But we'll see. Let's talk about some of the moves that are going to stay, obviously. Some moves that are going to stay are going to be Sleep Powder, Leech Seed, Mega Drain. Actually, we might not even keep Mega Drain. Mega Drain might get cut, who knows? Because this is one of the luxuries that you're afforded. If I send out my Venusaur to fight your Rhydon, you're going to be like, oh, I don't want to eat a Mega Drain. We might not even have Mega Drain on our set. We might want to use something completely different, and we know they're going to switch. They don't want to eat that. We can get away with cutting that move and, supplement it with something that helps us in a weaker matchup. So let's talk about some weaker matchups. What usually happens when you send out a Venusaur, chat? What is one thing that happens? If you send out a Venusaur into a strong matchup, they switch out their Pokemon, and then they switch in something that has a good matchup against you. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back into the book, the Pokedex book, And we're going to look at Venusaur and talk about some moves that Venusaur can get. Alright, Venusaur gets amnesia. Did you know that? Did you know Venusaur got amnesia? Probably not. Most people don't know that. It also gets Power Whip, so it can be totally physical. Also, its physical attack ain't no slouch either. So, it gets amnesia, Power Whip. It gets growth, which is not that good. It gets light screen, reflect. Who knows? You guys know it got boats? You guys know it got facade? Did you know it got earthquake? Bet you didn't. Earthquake might be a move that we actually decide to put on this thing. What are some bad things that can happen? More often than not, people are going to switch to like Mewtwo's to punish. But is it a chance that they switch to a fire type? Is our team really weak to fire types? Let's look at it. We have a couple big fire weaknesses in Venusaur and Beedrill, but we have a Starmie, we have an Arcanine, and more often than not, most fire attackers like Charizard, maybe like Moltres, even other Arcanines, they're going to be special attacking usually, so like we can use Snorlax and Clefable to effectively wall that damage, so we don't really need Earthquake. Like Earthquake's really only good if I have a Venusaur out and you have an Electrode out. That's one of the only times +1 growth EQ KOs Mega Gengar after rocks. Yeah, like that's another one. Like you're gonna want to KO those type of Pokemon, and unless you can get a one-shot, it's not really worth it. Mixed Venusaur hurts. Yeah, Mixed Venusaur is actually like really, really good. I don't think we're gonna be using it. I think that the set that I actually have here is completely fine. I would just change the nature. My Mew's Jolly. Do I pretty much have to go that bulk up build? You can go whatever you want, dude. You can put Taunt, U-Turn, Waterfall, Earthquake, Superpower, bunch of good moves on Mew. Put Sub on there, you don't have to go bulk up. But yeah, so this is the set that I personally do recommend, and I do feel that it actually works really, really good in this situation. One of the only problems with running this set, and one of the reasons why we're able to use this Venusaur and this set in this team, is Hello and these Executors walls the shit out of us. And like, sure, we could Sludge Bomb it, but like, we don't have Sludge Bomb. And you can't, obviously, Leech Seed like another Grass type. So other Grass types are a really big problem for Venusaur. But other Grass types aren't a problem if you're packing a legit Arcanine and a Beedrill. So I think we can actually just go with this exact set, but I would change the nature to either Calm or Timid. Or maybe even Bold if you want to increase your defenses versus like the Aerodactyl or Gyarados matchup. So you got Calm, Timid, or Bold as your options, but we're going to keep the same Venusaur set. And remember, the set that I like to use, this is going to be your sub-Pokemon. This is going to be the Pokemon that can make the miracles happen. Substitute Sleep Powder, Leech Seed, Mega Drain. I also really, really do recommend, if you have moves, if you have like a PP Max or PP Ups, I recommend using them on Leech Seeds because you only have 10. You could also use them on Sub and Sleep Powder because you want to be able to use PP Max on all of these moves because it's possible that Venusaur is going to be in a situation where it can 1v6 everything, and you got to be able to use your maximum amount of Leech Seeds because the way that you beat Leech Seeds is just switching forever. And if like you never got Rocks up, they can just switch without taking damage. So I really recommend at least using a PP Max on Leech Seed. It's a very good move. So I won't really have my way to explain the things that you could do with Venusaur, but at the end of the day, we're going to use the same set that I have. We're not going to talk about the Arcanine yet. We're going to talk about Snorlax. And remember, Snorlax is really, really good. How did it even get to this menu? I'm in this menu. All right. So let's go. Let's check summary here. Venusaur hits you without rage, lol. So yeah, right now we have an Adamant Snorlax. We're not going to be going Adamant. I think Adamant is probably a subpar nature on Snorlax. I really do think that Careful or Impish are much better. So I'd recommend. So like I said, if you're having like weaknesses to, if you're having like a really big weakness to like Aerodactyls, Gyarados, Dragonites, for example, and you're like, man, like I hate having to switch in on Rock Slides, having to switch in on Waterfalls, Crunches, Earthquakes. Maybe you go Impish because Snorlax can actually get. Like, we're going to look at its stats here. This is just a basic, like, a default one. This is, like, level 100 Snorlax, so you can see it has a much higher special defense. It'd be very beneficial for you to put more points in special defense to be able to effectively tank even more damage. But since it has such a low defense, it gets two-shotted by almost any physical attack. And any, like, superpower from anything that has, like, over base 100 attack. So anything stronger than, like, a Mew is going to, like, one-shot you with a superpower, especially if they stab it. So, you could put those points in defense, make it so you can switch in on an Aerodactyl Rock Slide, get an attack off before going down to a third one, and so I really recommend either a, you know, an Impish or a Careful one, depending on if you're having problems with either physical or special attacks in your own games. So I have a Bold Mew, jealous of your Jolly Mew. I mean, I have a Quiet Mew, so my Mew's jealous of both yours. Alright. Okay. So yeah, obviously the number one move you're going to want to go for on Snorlax is going to be Body Slam. 85 base power, stabbed move, 100% accuracy. The user drops on the target with his full body weight. This also leaves the target paralyzed. It's a 30% chance to paralyze. 30%. Very, very good. Your opponent are going to be risking it for the biscuit as much as possible every single time you send this thing out. I really also do recommend Rest on Snorlax. Remember, Rest puts you to sleep for 2 turns, fully heals any status conditions, fully restores your HP, and it also is really, really good for, you know, not really stalling out your opponent, but if you get the para, you can like fish for full para turns and make your Snorlax have a lot more value. And since you're running a bulkier Snorlax, not really an adamant one, which again, I really do not recommend running the adamant one. I've played with this thing enough to know that it's not good. You're going to be able to tank more damage and effectively use Rest correctly. Ice Punch and Earthquake, I do not recommend Ice Punch. Ice Punch is on this one because the Snorlax was a gift from one of my subs, but and I just haven't gone around to changing it, and I think I'm personally good enough to get away with it. If you feel that you need Ice Punch, the only move that this is good against is Dragonite. So, like, the team, when I first used the Snorlax, I was using it to fight Dragonites, and I was like, I haven't taken it off yet. So, Ice Punch is okay. We're going to talk about some other moves that Snorlax gets in this situation that you could actually use to, you know, make a lot more impact and stay on the board as long as possible. So, Snorlax, the moves that it gets: Defense Scroll, not that good. Yawn, definitely usable, but I do not recommend it. It gets Amnesia, it gets Crunch, Superpower. I do not recommend Crunch or Superpower. Amnesia is okay. Toxic is a pretty good one instead of Ice Punch, but remember, you're going to be clashing with the fact that you could Body Slam them, so I don't really recommend it. Let's see. Let us see. Fire Punch might be a decent one if you're having problems with very specific Pokemon, like Parasect, for example, Alolan Sandslash. Those are problem Pokemon for you. You could potentially use Fire Punch in those situations. I do not recommend Outrage. I do not recommend Self-Destruct. I do not recommend most of these moves. So, like, Ice Punch is okay. It can hit Aerodactyls for super effective damage. It's a 75 base move. Being able to free stuff is never the worst thing in the world. I'd probably recommend something like, I'd recommend like a tech move in this situation. We don't actually need to figure out this moveset until the very end as well, once we've solidified the rest of the team. But something like Substitute, maybe Reflect. I'd probably use Amnesia in this situation. Screech is also a decent idea, but I don't really recommend it yet. We're just going to sit on this for that last move. So the last Pokemon on the team is going to be Beedrill. So Beedrill, you guys have seen me use this thing a bunch before. It's one of the fastest Pokemon in the game in Mega Form. We need to be Jolly on this Pokemon. It's a 145 base speed if Jolly, so that means it's going to outspeed things like Mewtwo, like Mega Mewtwo, regular form Aerodactyl, regular Jolteon, Mega Gengar. You know, all those Pokemon vary in speeds from 130 to 140. Beedrill's 145, that means the only Pokemon that outspeed it are Mega Aerodactyl, Electrode, and Mega Alakazam. So as long as you're not fighting one of those Pokemon, Beedrill, you gotta be Jolly, and I really do recommend you copy this moveset. Drill Run, Poison Jab, U-Turn, and X-Scissor. You want U-Turn and X-Scissor. I know it's going to sound redundant to have both. One's 70, one's 80, but what makes you switch and one doesn't? And since we're already having a team that is not super weak to rocks, but we don't want to go into rocks weakness territory, what we're going to be doing with this team is we're actually going to let our opponent get rocks most of the time, because we're not going to be running a taunt Pokemon. We're going to be effectively trading rocks. And, which means sometimes you want to just use X-Scissor. You want to use a Bug Attack to hit something like their Mewtwo, or, you know, their not Mega Alakazam, or their Mew, but you don't want to switch. So that's why you have U-Turn X-Scissor. I've used Sub a lot of the time instead of X-Scissor, and Substitute's really, really good on this Pokemon. If you see my videos of me using Substitute, I really do recommend it. So like I said, if you really do like the Sub playstyle that goes with this thing, you can cut X-Scissor for U-Turn, but I really recommend having X-Scissor and just going a little bit more one-dimensional. And with Beedrill, you're allowed to be one-dimensional. You don't have to have Spice. The rest of the team has the Spice. Beedrill has the Sweeps. So we've talked about every single Pokemon except for Arcanine. So you can see on the top we have 1, 2, 3 special attackers. We have 1, 2, and a half. Arcanine can be mixed. What we're going to be doing with Arcanine, I think we're going to go physical. I think we're going to be going physical here with our Arcanine. So again, Arcanine gets a lot of really good attacks. It gets a bunch of really unique moves, like Crunch. It gets Superpower. It gets Outrage, Play Rough. It gets that big Flare Blitz. What was the Arcanine's nature? I haven't said it yet. I haven't decided yet. Jelly Sound, my guy, how's it going? So yeah, Arcanine can actually have a bunch of different natures, and it can, like I said, since we're going to be physical, the number one move that we're going to want on Arcanine, I'm actually going to have to go fly to the Heart Scale place to see if I can even Heart Scale it, but we're just going to talk about it. Arcanine, we're going to be wanting Flare Blitz for sure. Unless we want to really be special, but I really don't want to have that weakness to Chansey. If we look at the team, first of all, I just want to say, if you look at this team, and you'd be like, alright, cool, if I were to use this and have a special Arcanine, and they have like a Chansey, or like a Snorlax, we're so boned versus like a Snorlax. This team looks pretty busted. And also, like I said, thank you for the bits, by the way. Like I said, this is a team you can copy and go right into games if you have all the Pokemon in game. And you will win. I haven't even talked about how to win with the team. I haven't talked about your leads, your good matchups, your bad matchups. It's gonna be lit AF. I promise you. I promise you. So I just want to see something. I just want to see if I could hard scale something in this game. I'm curious about mechanics. We got time. We got time. Move I like to remember. Cool. So you can't really obviously get any moves you could. Like I said, Arcanine has to learn all its moves in Growlithe form. So like I said, we're gonna be doing physical Arcanine. And that means we're going to be having Flare Blitz. Flare Blitz is really, really good. So in this situation, we're going to be going back and looking at the Arcanine. Let's talk about... Now, I'll show you guys what I want to do. Yeah, this is going to be kind of weird, but we'll talk about what I want to do in this situation. Alright, so... Where is Will-O-Wisp? Does it already have Will-O-Wisp? It already knows it. Perfect. And Flamethrower's up here. Alright, we're going to make Fire Blast what Flare Blitz should be. FB! They got the same thing. So imagine that this Fire Blast is Flare Blitz. And we have not said what nature we're going to be yet because I'm not done with the team. So we want to have Flare Blitz. That's going to be our numero uno attackerino here. Flare Blitz is stabbed, 120 base move. You take a ton of recoil when you use it, but it's so good, I promise. It's so good. It's going to be able to do massive amounts of damage, especially after rocks and stuff like that to most Pokemon. It's very similar to like a Dragonite popping an Outrage. It's just an absolute massive amount of damage. My initials FB. Yo, Flare Blitz is a move for you. I'm looking for Arcanine over here. Just one sec. I want to see some other really unique moves that Arcanine can get. And see if I want to switch it up, because I know we're going to have Will-O-Wisp on it. And I think I might go, like, a screen of some sort. But we're just going to see. I just want to see some TMs that Arcanine can get. Alright, cool. Alright, so Arcanine can get Sub, Reflect, Will-O-Wisp, Iron Tail. Let's calc Iron Tail. Let me calc Iron Tail in a few specific situations. Pokemon Showdown. And I'm going to calc Iron Tail. So this is why I have not picked the nature yet, because I was still deciding. So we're going to go Arcanine. And for those of you guys that are curious about calcs, go to PokemonShowdown.com and then go to the damage calculator. And then from there you can input all your cool moves and stuff like that. So pick Iron Tail. And I'm seeing how much damage Iron Tail does to an Aerodactyl. And if there's a reason to do it. Alright. So, Iron Tail does 82 to 98% to an Aerodactyl if you're Adamant Arcanine. If you're Adamant Arcanine, it does 82.5 to 98%. Let's see if we're like a neutral nature. It does 74.8 to 89. So I think what we're going to actually do is I think we're actually going to be Impish Nature Arcanine. I think Impish is probably the way to go, but we will most definitely be Impish. Impish is the one, if it hits, oh dude, why gotta be negative, man? It always hits, man. Iron Tail's not even that bad, it's only like a 70. It might even be 75, that's 5 more accuracy than what I thought. 75, oh, that's so easy. Alright, so yeah, we're gonna put Iron Tail on Arcanine. You know, if you have a move that's a 75 base power move, and it misses, that's not your fault. If you were to run that back 10 times, you'd hit the next 7.5 of them. It's definitely worth it. So we're going to be going with Iron Tail right there. And we're going to look at a couple other situations. You obviously do not need Outrage. You do not need Crunch. You don't need a lot of these moves. Let's actually calc Superpower against Snorlax. Set there. 58 to 69. That's not enough. So Superpower is not needed. Let's see, what other moves do I want to put on you? I think Roar is probably the best one. Yep. That's the best move. Alright, cool. We found it. All right, so the Arcanine moveset we're going to be going for, we're going to be using an Impish Arcanine. And the reason we're using an Impish Arcanine, for those who don't know, Impish is a nature that boosts your defense and lowers your special attacks. So like I said, we're going to be Physical Arcanine. But we don't actually need Adamant, and that's why I waited so long to actually see, you know, the nature that we're working with here. So let me see. Can I relearn Roar? Was that like a baby move? I should be able to relearn Roar, right? Yeah, perfect. So we're going to put Roar back on it. And this is a very unique Arcanine moveset, IMO. Perfect. And remember, Fire Blast is taking the spot of Flare Blitz. But I also kind of want to say, if you want to be like a mixed sweeper and use like a weird like hasty Arcanine or something, you definitely could. So we're going to put Roar on there instead of Teleport. And we're going to talk about the significance of this moveset and how we're actually going to use it in the team to perform to its fullest potential. So here we go. Looking at Arcanine. Alright, so again, imagine this is Impish, and like I said, Impish boosts your defense, just like Bold, but it lowers your special attack. Yeah, we're going to be a physical attacker. The way this is going to work is we're going to be using a physical Arcanine, and we decided to go Impish over Adamant because I ran the calc, and we don't actually need Adamant to do any more damage than we're doing. We have enough damage with Iron Tail to one-shot Aerodactyl after rocks. So if we set up rocks earlier on in the game with Clefable, or like, you know, that's the only Pokemon that can actually set rocks. After an Aerodactyl comes in, we're going to be able to Iron Tail it. And the reason we're Impish is so we can actually we can tank the Rock Slide, we can tank the Earthquake, even after like a Stealth Rocks already came in and chunked our health, if that even happened. And we can reply back with an Iron Tail. Remember, it's going to be 100 base power, like 100 base power, it's going to double the 200. It's super effective on things like Aerodactyl and other rock types. So it's super, super good. Flare Blitz, which is what this is supposed to be. I just don't have Flare Blitz on this Arcanine because you have to learn it in the Growlithe stage. But you want to go Flare Blitz, Iron Tail, Will-O-Wisp, Roar. Will-O-Wisp is really, really good at crippling other physical attackers. So you want to put this on as many physical attackers as possible. Great against things like Gyarados. Also, remember, guys, Arcanine has a higher base speed than things like Gyarados. If you think of most physical attackers like Gyarados, Nidoking, you know, those Wall Breakers, Rhydons, Sand Slashes, stuff like that. Will-O-Wisp is going to be able to cripple those things every single time. My phone is slow to let me know your stream about how you doing, yo. I'm doing absolutely flawless. So yeah, Will-O-Wisp is really good. Iron Tail is really good at beating exclusively Aerodactyls after Stealth Rocks. Flare Blitz is good against everything else. It's going to make it take a little bit of recoil, but remember, like guys, it is Flare Blitz. I just don't have that move on this Arcanine. And last but not least, Roar is actually pretty good. The target is scared off, and a different Pokemon is dragged out. It's random. What you want to do is you want to set Stealth Rocks up with Clefable and just spam that Roar as long as possible until you get the matchup that you want. They're going to be able to hit you every single time, but like I said, you're bulky enough and you're Impish. You're going to be able to soak a bunch of damage and use Roar as often as possible. Should really be 100% when used by a fire type. I agree. That'd be a really, really cool mechanic that you don't actually see very often. But amazing Arcanine set. I think it's very, very unique. And I want to talk briefly about the fact that we're not using Crunch or like Play Rough. Crunch is a 60 base power. Sorry, Crunch is an 80 base power move. It's a dark attack. And you may be thinking like, I could Crunch Alakazam and I could Crunch Mewtwo. It is super effective. I could Crunch Gengar. It goes up to 160. But like, Flare Blitz is a 120, and thanks to Stab, which is the same type of attack boost, it goes up to 180. Flare Blitz will always be stronger against Mewtwo, Alakazam, Gengar, Mew, all those things. Flare Blitz will always be stronger than those situations. And there's no reason to ever use Crunch on an Arcanine. And maybe against a Starmie. Starmie's the situation which I guess you could Crunch, but it still doesn't even one-shot. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. You don't really need Crunch. Crunch isn't really that good. And the same thing goes for Play Rough. It's not really optimal. There's excuses to be made for things like Iron Tail because that hits the Aerodactyl. And excuses to be made for things like Super Power because that's another 120 base move. But other than that, Roar doesn't take care of Starmie. You don't really want to fight that. If they have a Starmie on the board, you're switching to your Clefable, you're switching to your Venusaur, you're switching to your Snorlax, you're switching to your own Starmie, and you're going to be fine. But yeah, so that is the Arcanine moveset. Now we can actually go in and fill out the rest of the moves, and then I'm going to get into like a bunch of other things in the playstyle. We got another follow from Baby Huey. Yeah, we're going to talk about Clefable again. Clefable, like I said, had a bunch of really good moves, but we had an extra move slot on the Clefable. We had an extra move slot, so let's talk about some TMs and some moves that Clefable can actually learn. Right now, we do have Calm Mind in that slot. We're just going to hover over a move that it can learn. We're just going to hover this for a sec just to see its moveset. Let's see. Right now, our moveset should be like Moonblast, Stealth Rocks, Thunder Wave. Stealth Rocks, Thunder Wave, Moonblast, so we don't technically need Calm Mind. That's like not what I'm about. Calm Mind's pretty good, but but like it's not like the best thing ever. So like, especially because we only have one special attack, we do not need Calm Mind. Let's see. What are some moves we can learn? We could actually put Fire Blast. I actually think Fire Blast might be a pretty decent one. Let's actually calc this. So again, I said that we would most likely be a Calm Clefable. Melmetal shouldn't be in here. Yeah, Melmetal's not in there. I can't even calc it. Fire Blast would do a lot of damage versus Melmetal though. So maybe have a Fire Blast or Flamethrower. But let's just keep going. Let's see. Don't need Ice Punch or Ice Beam. Light Screen. Pretty good. Can it learn Reflect? It can! Ooh! Alright, so let's see. I think we were going to put a screen on Clefable. I think a screen seems pretty good. I want to put a screen on this team. What's Pokemon similar stats to Melmetal to prox the calc? Don't want to do that because it's, like, I could do it, but I don't want to do it right now because it takes a long time to, like, figure that stuff out. And then you have to make it take, like, super effective damage, and it's kind of weird. I think we're just going to put a screen on. What is our team actually weak against? Like I said, Psychic Pokemon are a bit of a problem. Special attackers, I think we're actually just going to go for a light screen on the Clefable. So instead of cutting Calm Mind's pretty good, but it doesn't double your special D. It gives it a 1.5, and sure, Calm Mind can exponentially get better than... Calm Mind can actually get better than Light Screen, but as it stands, you need to use multiple Calm Minds, and you're only really boosting the Moonblast, and it's not like you really have the health. So what you can do with this is you can, like, pop a Light Screen, switch to something like an Arcanine, and just block a water attack. It's actually pretty good. So Light Screen's pretty good. It makes Clefable a little bit better as a lead, so we've picked that move slot. Starmie, we were talking about, currently our moveset is Scald, Psychic, Thunderbolt, and Thunder Wave. We were talking about using Hydro Pump. I actually do think you should cut the Scald for Hydro Pump. I can't cut Scald for Hydro Pump on this Starmie because you have to get Hydro Pump as a Staryu, but Starmie should definitely be using Hydro Pump. And the last Pokemon we have a moveset problem with is Snorlax, and I think Snorlax should actually be packing a Reflect. Calm Mind is probably better in other games with items and abilities. No, yeah, it does get store power. Clefable's like one of the best store power users in the game, in my opinion. But we're actually we're gonna take off Ice Punch for Reflect, and the reason why we're doing this is just in case Arcanine can't get Wolves off, having a Reflect to be able to make it so we're absolutely fine is really good. Snorlax, more often than not, if you have a Snorlax out and you know your opponent's gonna switch, what are they going to switch to? They're not going to switch to their Alakazam. They're not going to switch to their Zapdos. They're going to switch to their Pokemon that can then KO your Snorlax. They're going to switch to their Rhydons. They're going to switch to their Nidokings, their Gyarados, their Aerodactyls. If on their switch you use a Reflect, you're going to be able to out-trade them even with something like Body Slam and get the max amount of Body Slams you need. Self-destruct and hybrid sets only follows? No thanks. I really think having dual screens on your team, if possible, is super, super good. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through one more rerun through the team. Then we're going to start talking about playstyles and the order of your team in the team preview, because that's also very important. So Clefable, right here. Remember, I really did recommend a Calm Clefable. Bold is also an option, but I do recommend Calm. Bold or Calm are both interchangeable. It depends on if you have weaknesses to like certain types of like screens or certain types of like offensive things like special attacks or physical attacks. I really do recommend Calm. Bold works if you have problems with physical attacks. If you lead a lot against you know, like let's say you're fighting against a lot of like Aerodactyls, Gyarados leads, you might want to stick with Bold, increase your defense. But Calm's going to make it so you can lead a lot safer versus Starmies, and I feel that it's definitely the better one. So Stealth Rocks, highly recommended. If you're one Stealth Rocks user. Thunder Wave, Speed Control, highly recommended. A Light Screen and Reflect can be interchanged depending on if you're Bold or Calm, and you can switch both of them. Number 8 for the day. Missed you, my guy. Yo, thank you for that Subarino. You get to pick another Pokemon. We appreciate it so much. All right. What Pokemon you want to see? What Pokemon you want to see? Put those subs all the way up. So like I said, yeah, Light Screen and Reflect can be completely changed out depending on how you want to use it. And Moonblast is your main stab. 95 base, very strong. It's going to be stronger than moves like Ice Beam, Thunderbolt. 95 ain't no slouch when it comes to moves that have 100% accuracy. So really recommend this exact move set. You can change out Light Screen for Reflect, and you can change out Bolt for Calm, but both work. Hectic says Chansey. Oh my guy. Chansey's really good. Chansey's really, really good. Chansey was actually supposed to be in this team, but we messed around a little bit. But, so, yeah, we're moving on to Starmie, and Starmie had Thunder Wave, Thunderbolt, Psychic, and I actually do think that Hydro Pump is better on a modest Starmie than Scald. Sure, you miss Hydro Pumps, but you miss every single shot you don't take. You're actually going to be able to one-shot a lot more Pokemon that have weaknesses to water, like Aerodactyl, for example. You're going to be able to one-shot. You're going to be able to two-shot things like Zapdos on the Switch, Mewtwo on the Switch, Mew on the switch, depending on their nature. If they're like an offensive Mew, like if they're like modest, timid, adamant, jolly, as long as they're not calm or like careful or something like that, you're gonna be able to one-shot, you're gonna be able to two-shot them with Hydro Pump. So Hydro Pump, sure, you gotta be a little bit risky, but I actually feel that it's gonna pay off a lot more. Venusaur, this is the moveset that I highly recommend for this team. Sub, Sleep Powder, Leech Seed, Mega Drain, and remember our Venusaur nature. We really wanted to be like calm or bold or timid. Those are all really, really good options. This one would currently be like a calm one, but timid also gives you a lot of options. Bold also gives you a lot of options. Lets you have your better matches against things like Aerodactyls and Gyarados if you're bold. Is substitute Pokemon, I know, right? It is not. It is definitely not. Team around Lapras. Lapras is a decent choice, but you gotta resub. Gotta resub to do it. Alright, as for Arcanine, the Pokemon that we're supposed to be building around, I really do recommend Roar, Will-O-Wisp, Iron Tail for exclusively only... Iron Tail is only here for catching an Aerodactyl after Stealth Rocks. It deals 74.8 to like 85% after Stealth Rocks, so if they're taking a little bit of chip, Iron Tail can come in and finish them off, and I remember we're trying to use an Impish Arcanine, which is going to boost your defense to help you trade against those Aerodactyls, trade against those Gyaradoses, and again, if you also don't have to run Iron Tail, you can just be like, I just Will-O-Wisp it and I'll be fine, but you can just KO it. And that's also really valuable. Like, if you have, like, let's say you roar them, let's say you have Stealth Rocks up, right? And they come in, you roar whatever their thing is, and then they bring an Aerodactyl, take 25% from a Stealth Rocks. They're going to want to set rocks against you, and then you just one-shot them with an Iron Tail. They're so behind. Sure, they got rocks up against you, but that game is over. That game is over. And last but not least, Fire Blast is supposed to be Flare Blitz because we are a physical Arcanine on our Impish set. So really, really good. I like the Roar for phasing out setup mons. I like the Will-O-Wisp for being able to cripple most physical attackers. And like I said, since you're 95 base speed, you're going to be able to outspeed so many physical attackers. It's not even going to be funny. It's going to be so good. After that, Snorlax. Remember, we really did recommend the Impish or Careful Snorlax to increase your defense if you're Impish, to increase your Special D if you're Careful. And our moveset was Body Slam, Rest, Earthquake, and Reflect. Being able to have screens as an option is actually like super, super value. And personally, I always like organizing my stuff like this, like that. You put your least important moves kind of on the top, and you put your more important moves with your stab moves down at the bottom. Hiker Quinton says Polyer out the side. Those are pretty good. Those are pretty good options. But yeah, so Body Slam's going to be, you're going to be able to fish for as many Body Slams as you want, get as many parries as you want, so you can make it so your other Pokemon, like Venusaur and Arcanine, can outspeed things. Popping the Reflex is really good. Earthquake's a really good stab. It's going to make it so you can switch in. This Pokemon is exclusively made for like switching on Jolteon, switching on Electrodes, other fire types, popping that big EQ, getting those huge KOs. It's also pretty good against, like, if you get a Reflect up, you can start trading with things like Rhydons. Holy moly, Semantics Live coming in hot with that Twitch Prime sub. Thank you so much for that sub. You know I appreciate it. Welcome to Sub Club. Welcome to the Plus Bus. And yeah, there's also, guys, there's also a link to the Discord here. All right, Scyther. Perfect. Finally, someone picks a cool Pokemon. Finally, someone picks a cool Pokemon. Scyther, boys. I love it. So yeah, Earthquake's really good at switching in on like electric types or starting to trade with like rock and ground types after you've already set up your Reflex. So you switch in, you have your Snorlax, you know they're going to switch in their Alolan Dugtrio, their Nidoking, their Rhydon, pop your Reflect, and then you out-trade them with Earthquake, so it's going to be extreme value. And last but not least, Beedrill. Beedrill's the Pokemon that makes it so you can actually win the late game. It makes it so you don't just get run over by Mewtwo's, by Starmies, by Mews, by Gengars. You have Drill Run to catch things like Gengars and partner Pikachus, as also deal chip damage from Metal. Also note that this move can crit, has a high crit ratio, so sometimes you got to go all in on Drill, and you've seen me do it before. Poison Jab's a secondary stab move, 80 base power. It's really good against things like Parasect and other grass types, and as well as fairy types. It's really good against other Clefable. You don't always want to fight the Clefable mirror match, so this is a really good move to have. U-turn is going to be the move of choice more often than not. You're going to be able to hit them super hard and fast because you're using a Jolly Beedrill, and you're going to switch out into literally whatever you want. You have so many bulky Pokemon. You'll be able to soak so much damage and then play correctly from there. And the last but not least, you have X's, or in case you don't want to U-turn, in case your opponent already has Stealth Rocks. So calm, perfect. Modest, bold, Impish, Careful, Jolly. Those are your natures. Perfect. That's the natures. So now we can actually talk about the order, the team preview order, right, that we're going to actually use the team, right? So this is the thing that I think is really important, and this is going to be a little bit of misdirection. You're going to try and trick your opponent into doing things that you're not going to be doing. So obviously, he's going to look at your team, and if they're really bad, they're going to be like, cool, he doesn't have Stealth Rocks. But actually, you do, so you have Clefable. So, first of all, most people, like I said, like 40-50% of the people you play are going to be like, you don't have Stealth Rocks. So you can leave with Clefable all the way you want. But the rest of the people are going to be like, I know that there's Stealth Rocks. It's on the Clefable. So what we're actually trying to do is draw as much attention to Clefable as possible. Right? Remember, what are Clefable weak against? Physical attacks. Clefables are very tauntable. So we want to bait their opponents into leading with like really, really good taunt mons. And then we're going to talk about common things that we can use to beat said taunt mons. So we're going to have Clefable here. And we're going to surround Clefable with things that are also weak to the things Clefable are weak against. Clefables don't want to fight Aerodactyls more often than not. Clefables don't want to fight Gyarados. Clefables don't want to fight Electrodes, Mewtwo's. They don't really want to. They'd rather not just lead against. They'd rather like have a more developed game. So we're gonna have Arcanine right next to Clefable. It's gonna be right next to it. And then right next to that, we're actually gonna have this right here. And then we're do it like this. So the reason why we're organizing it like this is we're doing our very best to hide Venusaur. So if our opponent's looking at the team, they're gonna see the way their eyes are gonna go. They're gonna go from Clefable to Arcanine to Starmie, all the way down to Snorlax into Venusaur and Beedrill. So they're going to see, they're going to have an implant of Clefable, Arcanine. They're going to be like, wow, Aerodactyl's really good. Wow, Gyarados is really good. They might lead Starmie. I have to be afraid of Starmie. Maybe I'm going to go Electrode. Maybe I'm going to go with my really fast Taunt Mom, because a fast Taunt Mom beats Clefable, Arcanine, and Starmie. I'm going to have a Pokemon I can switch to in case they lead Snorlax, and then they're going to, I swear to you, they're going to gloss over the Venusaur and go for Beedrill. And in this situation, if you can get your opponent into a situation where they think that you're going to be going like Clefable or Starmie lead, which is what this team says that it does, you can be able to lead Venusaur every single time. Venusaur, like I said, we really did recommend like that bold Venusaur, bold and like careful Venusaur. Sorry, bold and calm. You're going to be able to trade versus Aerodactyl every time. You're going to trade versus Gyarados every single time. That's what you want. You can go for those big Sleep Powders. You can go for a sub very fast. If they want to taunt you, if they would like an Electrode, okay, taunt me. See what happens. I'm just going to Mega Drain, out-trade you every single time. Let's go Nature for low Ninetales. I really do recommend Timid Nature. So in this situation, if you're going to organize your team preview like this, you're going to be able to lead with Venusaur a lot. And let's say you lead with Venusaur and they totally pin you and go with like a Psychic type lead. Well, you can switch to your Snorlax, soak the Psychic attack. You can switch to your Starmie, block the Psychic attack, resist it. You can switch to Clefable and, you know, just soak some Psychic damage. It's not that bad. You can move Pokemon with the L or R buttons too, in case you didn't know. I don't have L. I only have R. But I didn't know that. It's fine. But let's say they lead with let's see. What's some? Oh, by the way, Venusaur's the lead. Venusaur and Starmie are Starmie, and Clefable are your two leads. They're your three leads. I say in order of importance, you're gonna try to lead more often than not with Venusaur, then Starmie, and the Clefable. You want to get rocks up. You do not want to rocks on first turn unless you know you can get away with it. If their team has absolutely no check, they have no taunt mons. They have no really big physical mons. You can go ahead and lead Clefable. If you know you're better than them, just go for it. But more often than not, you want to go for like a 3 or 4 turn Stealth Rock. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to wait for your opponent to have like a sloppy turn where they're stuck using a move that isn't very good. You switch to Clefable, take like 10-15% from that move because if you have pretty good typing, and then they're not going to be able to KO your Clefable, and you're going to be able to get that rocks up pretty free. And then from there, you can switch your Clefable out. You can do whatever you want. Maybe set up a screen. Maybe you already have a screen with something like your Snorlax, and you're back off to the races. What you want to do is preserve your Beedrill as much as possible. Never once lose the Beedrill. The Beedrill should never, ever go down from attacks. You should always U-turn out if possible. The only thing you should be killing your Beedrill is coming in 4 times on Stealth Rocks. That's right. You know, we got Rage coming in hot with that follow. Hopefully you're having a wonderful night. So, preserve your Beedrills as much as possible. Save that thing for a late game sweeper. Be able to use Arcanine to roar out their Pokemon as much as possible to take as much Stealth Rocks damage. Will-Wisp all physical attackers. Thunder Wave the sweepers. Thunder Wave the sweepers, Body Slam the sweepers, Sleep Powder, and make it so Venusaur, through the use of correct screens, can set up a good sub situation where you can just Leech Seed and wall out all Pokemon. Remember, if you already have a sub up, if you've already seen my games, you already effectively know how to play with Substitute. And if you already have a sub up and are effectively KOing everything and ending their you know, their turns after their Pokemon are KO'd with a sub. You're going to be able to do that to every single one of their Pokemon if played correctly, and this is a very, very solid team. I think this is probably, Lucky the Vulpix coming in hot with the host. You're probably going to be able to win almost every single game you play with this team if you play correctly. I say that's the good things about the team. We're going to talk about a couple bad things about the team. Team is a little bit bulky. It's a little bit too bulky. One thing that's bad is if you lose a Pokemon early to like a crit or a flinch or something that's unlucky. Let's say you drop your Starmie early. Let's just take Starmie out of the equation. That means our only Pokemon that has over 100 base speed is Beedrill. And that's going to be a lot harder to win the game with. You're going to play a lot more. Semantic Slab coming in with the follow as well. Sub before the follow. I appreciate that so much. But yeah, if you lose a Pokemon early, we're a little bit bulky, so we're going to have to play the long game, the screen game, the roar game, the correct switches, maybe double switch. You're going to have to outplay your opponent if you lose one of your faster Pokemon early. You're going to have to go for a lot longer game with Thunder Waves, Clefable, and Bite Slams of Snorlax. So if you like the long game, if you like outplaying your opponents, through the use of unique movesets, this is definitely the team for you. But I would say this is a very high skill ceiling team to use. But I think this is probably the best Arcanine team you could potentially make to use Arcanine to its fullest potential. Obviously, you could throw Arcanine on a better team, but this team uses Arcanine as a pivotal part of the team and effectively covers up for any weaknesses that might have and just is absolutely amazing. So hopefully DCNS Rabbit Duck, who suggested Arcanine, likes this team. Hopefully you guys like this team. This took an hour and a half of me talking. But we finally got through it, so we're going to go to the next Pokemon. Whew, that took literally forever. Holy moly. Take a nice sip of my beverage, and we'll get to the next one.